Hi, I'm Corey Luna, and with me is Rich Hogben, and you're watching Patch Dispatch. And today we're going to start out with an interesting anecdote from Paul Malov's IG Instagram post. We'll get into some module farewells and talk about a couple of new album releases. First, let's get into what we read on an Instagram post from Paul M. Olive. He wrote as a podcast idea, Eurorack. What happened and where did all go wrong? Now, Rich, you sent this to me last night and you seem to be enjoying it. Tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, he posted this, actually, I think it was a week ago or even longer. He probably doesn't even remember. I thought it was funny. There were some comments. I think it did kind of speak to me a little bit because, Eurorack is definitely past its, I'd say, its peak. That it definitely peaked. It seems it's not as at the forefront that it used to be. Does that sound right?
That's correct. It's definitely the Renaissance period of Eurorack definitely has come and gone.
I mean, there were a lot of small manufacturers popping up all over the place. Like everybody was making modules, and you're seeing now, like, it's I'd say it started with Mutable. Like, hey, I'm done. That was like a huge. I mean, not that they're gone, but like that was a huge loss, right? I think
it was, and then we saw WMD disappear as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if that's what he was speaking to, but I think there was this promise. I think when everyone starts to get into Eurorack for the first time, there's this promise that you can build this instrument that's going to be perfect for you, or that you can explore endlessly. And I think what I've seen happen with people, especially even some large YouTubers who get into it, where they drop a lot of money into this thing. They've got their wall of modules, and then they find themselves not really using it very often, which is unfortunate. Yeah. I mean, what does it mean to you? His post.
I think you're on the mark of it's this very customizable idea, but then to actually implement it, it really takes a lot more time to get to understand every individual manufacturer's style of programming, and each one's not the same. It's once we get past analog and into the digital realm of modules, that's when things really change, and you've got this dramatic learning curve. If everything is analog, it's a bit easier to know what's going on because you're not doing deep dives on menus. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest issues with a lot of the digital Eurorack modules out there is there's different styles of menus that have been programmed by different people. They're not all the same.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, the digital analog thing. I mean, if you look back to how the first Eurorack modules, like who set the standard?
Oh, I would say Doper.
Right. And you look at their modules, and we've come a long way since, those are, very standard, oscillator, envelope, trigger, gate, sequencer, maybe more like, one feature sort of per module. And you're right. Now there's these basically like it's a computer in a module.
Yeah.
It's far removed from the Doper modules. I actually saw a case recently from an artist on Instagram who had built basically a DJ rack that was set up to just play samples. So it was basically two bit boxes, one on each side. And then everything else was kind of set up in a DJ style where there was like DJ filters, compressors, things like that, a little bit of hands-on control stuff. But he's basically just playing stems in the Eurorack system, which that's his thing, and that makes total sense. And I actually like doing that. But the reason he did it was because for modular on the spot, one of the requirements is that everything needs to be in the box. So like you can't bring like an external groove box, but you can now just build a groove box into a rack and say, that's my modular system. And it's not what a lot of people would expect. So I don't know, it's interesting. Anyways, I thought the Paul's post was pretty funny. So yeah.
There's definitely a lot more deep dive we can probably do on this subject. It's actually rather funny and tongue in cheek, and even the sentence on how it's written really reminds me of a line from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is really more referring to humanity and where it all went wrong.
But, right. Sure. Yeah, definitely.
It's a great anecdote that definitely applies to Eurorack in a similar fashion. But Eurorack is still very much alive, and we still all enjoy it very much. It's definitely much more for like someone who wants to experiment and play around with some alternative ideas in terms of music, and definitely going back to say Bookla, that's designed specifically for an artist to create sound rather than it being a traditional instrument compared to East Coast synthesis, like Moog specifically, where that is designed for a keyboardist or a musician to really perform live with a band. And Eurorack doesn't cater to that as well. Was definitely great examples where it is used in a band fashion. There are certain artists who are using maybe modules specifically to deal with maybe just the drum section, and then they're using other modules and other synthesizers, I should say, to control everything else. But again, Eurorack can be anything you want it to be, but you have to know how you want to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, thanks, Paul, for the podcast idea.
That was fun. All right, let's get into some loving modules that we are saying goodbye to from Noise Engineering. And they just announced that they will be retiring the Icarus line. So that's the Basimilus Iteratus Alter, the Heteroxic Iteratus, Curses Iteratus, and Manus Iteratus. Now, those of us who have at least one of these modules knows how powerful these modules are in terms of its sonic ability. I personally have the Basimilus Iteratus Alter. I've been using that as a wonderful drum module in my system since I purchased it, and I really enjoy it. Although, and if you read the article that they have on their website, it talks about the history on using, I think, the XMOS chips, and how that was affordable at the time, but it's now passé, and they're moving on to a different format, which is much more realistic in terms of being able to update it from a USB cable.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rich, what's your take on this so far?
I'm not really sure on what the replacements are, but I know like the Iteratus Alter was like super popular, right?
It definitely was.
Like a bunch of these I see them all the time. So, do they have replacements already, or are they in the works?
I think that's a great question, and I know that they've been pushing one of their newest modules, the Inter, which is a MIDI to CV module, and that's on the top of their website right now, mm-hmm. as one of their newest modules with their new format.
But like the Icarus Alter was like a drum module, right, or percussion sort of
yes,
oscillator. That's like right. You have one of those, right?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, and in any like drum kind of percussion system, you always see it. So. I was really surprised when I saw that, but they must have something in the works, right? Replacements, because I don't know what are they going to use?
Yes. Well, they still have the Legio line.
Okay. Okay.
which I have the Templegio, which has been pretty fun. It has a USB input on the back so that you can change the firmware on it, and it's pretty simple to change the firmware. It does come out standardly as a drum module, but you can change it to be an oscillator at the same time, so you can actually use it instead of percussion. You can use it as a melodic voice.
Okay.
So definitely going to miss these modules. I will probably hunt down one or two of them because I really enjoy the Basimilus a lot, and I love that industrial sound that I get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess this is just room for new modules is one way to look at it. So
definitely, the company's moving on to improving their modules with the technology that's available, and I think that's very appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's move on to some. Actually, let's move on to our newest podcast release, which Rich and I have been working diligently on something to bring in the music from around the world that we have been doing Piqued with our live shows, and we're bringing it now into a pre-recorded format for everyone to listen to in a podcast format called Seismic Audio Podcast. And we've just launched it with our friend Evan Buswell, who you also know as the proprietor of New Systems Instruments Eurorack modules, which are very fun. And he's given us a piece of music that you can listen to on Apple Podcast, also on Spotify through Seismic Audio Podcast. If you just look up Piqued, Piuqed, you'll find all three of our podcasts available there. And we currently only have the one episode right now, but going into September, we're going to have at least maybe one or two contributors from Wabi Sabi and some other wonderful people that are working on tracks specifically for Seismic Audio Podcast.
Yeah, we're going to get some of the, I think we were going to hunt for some older Piqued performances to throw in there too.
That's right. We did discuss that, and we will be having some of our older episodes, especially from 2019, some of those episodes that not everybody, that some people got to experience in person, but maybe has gotten lost within the mass amount of material that is the internet, and we'll bring those back to life.
Yeah, I really like this podcast format. And then where did you get the inspiration for Seismic Audio?
So I was inspired by Data Cult Audio, which many people know of, and it has since now been discontinued by the proprietor who started it, A.M. Philip Kowski, and he stopped doing it back in November of 2022. That was the last published episode, and he's going on to do some other projects. So he's a little tight up at the moment. So I asked his permission if I could create a new podcast that would carry on in that fashion of all music, no interviews, just pure music from people from around the world, from different places, different genres of electronic music, all being electronic music of some fashion, but having a variety of melodies and noise and all kinds of cool textures and things that you can do with music and with audio. So that's my dream of what I would like Seismic Audio Podcast to be. And hopefully we can continue on with what was Data Cult Audio, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. I think it's a great format, so looking forward to more episodes.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I always admired about Data Cult Audio is that it was always pure music. There's no commercials. You just, every month there was a new episode, or actually no, I think it was every week. He used to publish it, which I don't think we'll be doing it as often, but at least maybe twice a month, possibly. I would like to. That's the goal. We'll see, depending on how many people can contribute that fast.
I think you'll get there. It takes some time to ramp up. It's new, so.
That's a good point. You're right. So hopefully we can continue on with that. We'll get a lot more. And I guess also having the older Piqued episodes up on there will give us a lot of more content as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. And I think a lot of us like listening to something in the background, whether it just be something that keeps our minds going while we're at work or something like that, or driving long distance. I think it's a great format that you can just listen. Eventually, once we get a good cache of episodes up, you can just go from episode to episode and have it just be nonstop music for you. No commercials, and just be a great stream of pure music.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Excellent. And be sure to look up Seismic Audio Podcast through Piqued. Now let's get on to some albums. There's actually 3 unique things that came out. I would say 2 of these albums just recently dropped, and the third one is a single that probably came out a few months ago. Only I was just notified about it from the guy who wrote it. My partner and I were recently in New York City, and we had lunch. We had a late dinner with our friend, and he told us that he released a single on Spotify under the artist name inner.cost. And it's a pretty good single where he's got a variety of guitar, some synthesizer, mellow pads, and he's actually singing on it, which I didn't know he could sing, but I think it sounds pretty good.
What's the single called? Is it Red Hot?
I believe it is Red Hot.
Do you want me to play a preview?
Yes.
Cool.
So inner.cost was a cool single that was brought to my attention by the artist when we had dinner with him, my partner and I, back in New York City last week. Danny, he has been working on making music for a while now, and I've known him as mostly a guitarist, but in this single, he really represents a lot more of his style as not just a guitarist, but also a composer, where he's got wonderful synth pads going on, a decent drum line going on, and he's actually singing on top of everything, which I didn't know he could sing, and it sounds really nice. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more from him. Currently, he's going under the name inner.cost. Maybe that might change in the future. Unsure at this time, but hopefully he'll be putting out more music, and I really want to hear more from him. And even the art that you see on Spotify for that particular single, he told us that a designer friend of his made that logo for him.
Cool.
All right, now let's move on to our second album release, an EP by our friend Sheena Dham. Her new EP is called Sheena Dham 1.0. It's available on Spotify right now, and it is my experience from it was melancholy. She's a wonderful singer, a wonderful musician, and just multi-talented. And she's been working really hard on recording this album. I think she recorded it all within this year, and it just dropped on August 24th, and today being August 27th, so it's only been out for 3 days. And it's 7 tracks, all pretty short, the shortest track is 59 seconds and the longest track is 3 minutes and 6 seconds, is pretty standard, but there's at least 3 songs on here that are under 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really fast album. It's only like maybe 35 minutes runtime, but I'm really excited that she finally got something out. I met Sheena almost a year ago in September of 2022. I was playing Resonant Frequencies at the Balboa Theater in San Francisco, and she was in the audience and really enjoyed my set. And we chatted afterwards, and we got to hang out once afterwards. And since then, we've just stayed in touch. And eventually, I'm going to have her come back over so I can interview her about her album, and we'll have that released on North Beats podcast maybe later this year.
Cool. Was there one in particular I could play a preview of, or maybe just try the first one?
Ooh, good question. My favorite. Go ahead and play the last one, Flip a Coin.
Ate 2 chocolate dipped strawberries late last night. For dinner, I've been trying hard to find the ways in which I'm the sinner with the light on my left and the dark on my right. I'll flip a coin to see which one's the winner. I'll flip a coin to see which one's the winner.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that.
That's really nice.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's there's so much heart in her lyrics. All right, now let's go on to our last album release to announce. And Rich, how about you take this one?
So this album release is from Xibalbá, who is my significant other. This is her third release, second EP, called Technocracy. And let's see, there are 6 tracks. And it's on Spotify. It's also on iTunes, SoundCloud, and I think she just uploaded it to a pretty new Bandcamp page for people that like Bandcamp. So, let's see. I think people. It looked like Monolith was pretty popular. I'll play a small preview. So for those that don't know, she does all of her work on the OPZ, which is, dedication at the very least. Yeah, she, does all the songs there, and then she will live compose it, record it into like a Zoom kind of thing. So, yeah. You just got an OPZ, right?
I sure did. Yeah, I just picked this up at Mission Synths here in San Francisco.
Do you have I know there's an iPad app. Is there one for the iPhone? Have you tried hooking an app up to it yet?
I haven't tried yet.
Okay.
I think there is, because OPZ is also designed to control visuals as well.
Right.
Not that I have tried it yet. It's just brand new. I picked it up maybe 2 days ago. I really haven't had more than time to charge it and turn it on.
Right.
And that's about and disinfect it. And
right.
That's about it.
Yeah, the app is pretty crazy. I recommend it if you can get something to show the app, because it opens up the whole interface visually for you, so you can browse between the different pages, of parameters and stuff like that. It's also how you load. It's one way to load samples or change sample packs is with the app. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, Xibalbá. Yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool. She's been working on it for a while. I know she had some tracks coming out, and then all of a sudden she had 6 tracks done, and she was like, she kept asking me every day when I was going to help her, master it for streaming. So, yeah, but yeah, it's up now. I think it was up a couple days ago, so brand new.
It looks like on iPhone there is the OPZ app.
Okay.
Looks like it's designed for iPad. So
yeah,
I'm not sure if it's going to work on iPhones.
It's designed for iPad for sure. I don't know. Yeah, you can try it. But do you have an iPad?
No.
Otherwise, you can always look for a used, the little ones. That'd probably be a perfect size because they're not too big. And a used one you can get pretty cheap now because, everyone's on the new stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely behind on getting an iPad, but looks like it might work on. Yep. Okay. Yeah, it works on iPhone too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely going to be getting into that. All right. One more rabbit hole has been opened in my life. Be exciting. So, yeah, Xibalbá's new album. How did you pronounce it?
Technocracy.
And tell me
maybe technocracy.
Technocracy.
Like democracy. Tenocracy.
So in your interpretation, what does this album title mean to the artist, do you think?
Techno and this is more like an interview question for her. I don't know. I think it's like the techno democracy, or she's going to get really upset if I have this wrong. I probably shouldn't say anything.
Okay. It's a really fun album. Yeah, it's techno forward heavy. It's a good one. And I really hope that maybe someone might start spinning it in clubs. Because it's definitely designed. I could definitely hear this in a club. Mm-hmm. It's always good. And if those of you who have been fans of Piqued for a long time know that Xibalbá has always been the theme music for all of our episodes. On the intro, outro music, it's always Xibalbá. Mm-hmm. So fantastic! It's an awesome album. I was playing it when it first dropped. I was playing it in the kitchen, and my partner was starting to dance to it while cooking. So that's how you know it's a good album. Excellent. So this has been Patch Dispatch. with Korey Luna and Rich Hogben. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.